Good rising, brethren. This is Big Judah coming to you guys from California. Before I begin, give all praises to the Most High Yahweh. Acknowledgement to the earthly mother, who was wisdom, who was the Holy Spirit. Acknowledgement to Yahweh Shai. I pray that the Most High blesses this lesson this evening, gives us more knowledge and understanding of the events of the past, in order to understand the events that are currently happening on the earth, so we get a much better understanding of the things that are soon to come on the earth. Brethren, we're going to keep on with the applying the knowledge understanding that the Most High has given us into these new events that are currently coming on the earth. We can understand things much more clearly than the rest of the world, as we see the other nations and how they just follow into a rut. Everything just repeats itself over and over again. They allow the same people who have no understanding to break things down, supposedly, for them. I came across this video this morning. Breaking: strange planet captured in Alaska, FAA weather cam. Mike from around the world. Bagley here had a good video. If you guys want to check out the video, you guys see the title, you guys can go check that out. Mike from around the world is giving some information. But see, we take this information that he gets, Paul Bailey talks about, and then we apply it to the information that the Most High has given us. That's how we get a much better understanding of what is going on in the world. This is why the rest of the nations cannot get understanding. So when you go ahead and take a look at the events around the world and you look at the reaction of the people, you see why they have no understanding about what's going on all across the world. See, this world just revolves around the same events over and over again. So Jacob Blake was shot in the back 7 or 8 times, and they just string it out as in that, they actually found out last night that they actually had him handcuffed to the bed. The man's paralyzed and he's handcuffed to the bed just to piss people off even more. Today, there was a big rally in Washington, D.C. You had the same people getting up there and talking about how we're not going to take it anymore, no justice, no peace, same old things over and over again, while they're steadily ignoring prophecy being fulfilled day by day. You have everybody talking about how, well, they're rioters, we don't support violence, but you guys are constantly forgetting or ignoring the violence that precipitated the entire event. So they talk about the looters going out and getting upset, and you don't know who these people are. People could be coming from, I'm sure people are coming from different parts of the world, of the country, to get in there and go cause issues, just like that 17-year-old kid did, walking around with a big, huge gun. Police just let him just walk around, didn't even arrest him after he'd already killed 2 people and shot someone else. And it's all the same things over and over again. Then then they come back with their law enforcement people. Let us investigate ourselves, so we can tell you that we're not guilty of anything. And then the situations just repeat themselves over and over again. Nothing new, as all these events are currently unfolding worldwide. So we're going to get into, and if pastors aren't saying, all the pastors say for us is, you need to forgive. You need to move on. What would Jesus do? He would forgive. All the while, these people are not talking about prophecy. They're not talking about the Most High making signs all over the world. The Most High showing you that the 400 years is over. They're not talking about how, the curses are switching from the Most High's chosen people to the rest of the nations. They just give you the same talking points, same stories over and over again. It's like Groundhog Day. Just happens again, over and over again. Nothing new. You wake up and it's the same thing. The NBA players were making a huge boycott by not playing a couple games, but then quickly they decided to go right back in there and finish up the games so they could have their platform. Well, what is the platform going to do? Is it going to change the system? No. What everyone who really wants change should be doing, they should be getting on their knees and praying to the true Most High, the true Father. As you can see how he's already quickly brought this nation and the world to its knees within a few months. If we imagine if we had more people praying to the Most High. But we've got enough. I'm sure we got enough right now. We're just waiting for the last few. The Most High is, he's got that number already set up. But see, these people are all too enamored. They're all just, focused on trying to fix this system. This system is broken. There is no fixing this system. So these people are all pushing. I'm sitting there listening to these athletes talking about their voting initiatives and how we need to vote and how we need to change. How are we going to change? What does it matter if we change presidents? The system is already broken. It's been broken. Now we just need to pray for the Most High to come and just clean it all up. That he empowers his people and he sweeps them off of our lands. Now, as we listen to some of this video, you're going to see how the Most High is already bringing the world to its knees. And now there's all these things that, remember in the last video, I talked about how the men here are going to try to make it seem like they're still in control. Well, that's what these guys are going to be doing right here as well. They're going to still be trying to show how men think they are still in control, but what's coming in the skies and what's already showing up and the things that are already happening shows that man has already lost control. So we're going to listen to a little bit of what these guys are saying, but then we're going to look at it through the Hebrew interpretation, the 400 years when this planet just showed up. It's important to listen to the date, listen to the, when this picture showed up. He was talking about how he tried to put the picture of this planet in the thumbnail, Paul Begley, and that he couldn't go live. Like they would not allow him to go live with this picture in the thumbnail. So you'll be able to see it here in the video. But we're going to check the dates, and we're going to check how it's all working with the end of our captivity, the end of our 400 plus years. Here we go.
Out in the middle of nowhere where people really can't see it. Now I ask everybody that's watching right now from Alaska, did anybody else see this in the sky? Only one person said they did. Everyone else said no. Folks, joining us right now, the man, the myth, the legend, Mike from around the world. Mike, how you doing tonight?
Pastor Paul, good to see you this evening.
Well, Mike, it's going to be a great program. It took us 15 minutes to go live on the main channel. We had a picture taken on a FAA weather cam from Alaska on August the 21st, 2020. We have two pictures, one taken from one cam and the other one taken from a different camera. One is taken of the sky over to the Yukon River, and the other one from Bradley Lake. And there's some type of strange object in the sky. Now, this was sent to us by an employee of the FAA, and it was captured on an FAA cam. We've sent these to you. I don't know what in the world I'm looking at. If it's a Photoshop or a smudge. I don't know how we could smudge two different cameras, two different places, but maybe. Is it a strange planet out there? Is it a holographic image? Is it Project Blue Beam? What's going on, Mike?
Well, it's a pretty good image. It would be awesome if somebody could dig up the pictures they also took from the South Pole. It was about 7 frames from the South Pole with that same dithered pattern. So it was somewhat similar. That's one of those photos that I'll tell you what, if it's real, Pastor Paul,
yes,
we're going to see a lot more of that photo. watch to see, is that they're going to try and confirm that 1,000 different ways. But there's already partial confirmation from the South Pole with that same type of image with that dithering.
Okay, we're looking at it again, Mike. Again, there it is, folks. Very plain. It's taken from over Bradley Lake, the camera, and I'm looking right here. It's Bradley Lake. The camera was facing south. It was camera number 10396. This red planet is pictured. You could see it from the naked eye. The individual sent it to us is a employee of the FAA. It was taken on an FAA weather camera. Mike, are you saying that this same object was seen 7 different picture frames from the South Pole? Are you confirming that?
Yeah, something just like that, with near the same, similar patterns. You can do computer matching of surface patterns and find them. The patterns were sitting a bit east if you're looking at that object, which also is kind of confirmation because they're the exact same patterns that the type of rotation has taken place. Does that mean it's now something very funny? During the I believe it was the 1100s. During the 1100s, there was an object. Lots of people thought it was a secondary moon. There was an object seen in our atmosphere for about 7 or 8 days. And they were so frightened, they thought it would, kind of crash into our moon. But of course it didn't. It was a passing object. Well, that date also correlates to some of the other celestial phenomena. Once you start doing the modeling with the timetables, it correlates with a lot of celestial phenomena during that date. That's when it started, all the way up to the 1400s, where we had at least 2.5 years of dark skies. During that time span, trees were dying all over the place, and of course this world went through an abrupt change. Well, that just so happens to be one of the quarter marks in the return of a cyclic pattern, a larger pattern. So during that time span, they call it the tail end of one of the long durational seasons of our solar system. And it killed a lot of life on this planet. But the trees in particular, they were starved of light. They weren't producing food. Growth was almost stopped. It was almost halted for at least 2 to 3 years. If that picture is real and it was seen this year, I'm going to keep using that term but if that thing is real, then we can look forward to a phenomena in the winter, right? Yeah.
Okay. We're going to listen to a little bit of this because there's a lot of good information. I have a book that I've done some videos on talking about how Europe and was going through a lot of changes. There was a lot of signs in the skies and things like that. They're going to talk about the date of when this they got this picture. You probably already saw it, and how it correlates to the end of our 400 years. And with this phenomenon showing up and how it affects the earth and how it's going to affect how, trees, wildlife, everything else. I mean, that goes with a lot of prophecy, especially a lot of prophecy I've read out of the other books as well. Especially like the apocalypse of like Elijah, and it's talking about the rivers and, everything, a lot of things getting burned. But like I said, it's just all kind of fitting. But if you saw, he said that this phenomenon showed up on 8/21, 2020. They're going to talk about that a little bit here. But that's then correlating again with the end of our 400 years. All of a sudden, around the date of 2020, and all of a sudden this planet pops up. And of course, what is it? Where was they talking about before? How men wanted to make it seem as if they were still in control. So they're going to hide this information, but it's not able to be hidden when you start looking at all of the natural disasters that are happening one on top of the other. And then they'll pass, the natural disaster will pass, and they'll try to keep it out of the media. But, I said, let's continue with a little bit more of this. There's more coming.
think of this, because these objects that are coming into our solar system, they are telltale markers of our movement, right? In relation to a secondary sun's system or the outer bands, what have you. If that is the case, some of the temperature swings that we're about to really, and we're talking about heat, we're not talking about cold, because this winter coming up is going to tell us all about the heat we're about to face. I think that's going to frighten quite a few people, but the heat factor during this winter, mixed with the all the moisture that's being let loose all over the earth, is going to cause conditions, Pastor Paul, that are they're just beyond words.
What kind of heat are you wearing? You're talking heat in the winter?
Yeah, we're because as we continue to move, we have definitive changes in our atmosphere. And again, you can't, when you're looking for changes in the atmosphere, you can't do it week to week. You can't do it month to month. You have to do this in sets of about 2 to 5 year sets. And when you look at those 2 to 5 year sets, it gives you a good idea of our weather patterns and how they're changing. When you start correlating geological activity with the atmosphere, then you know you have an external force at play. It's not just internal, it's not just the sun. And then when the sun's activity correlates with atmospheric phenomena and geological activity, well, then you know you really have an external force at play. And of course, we're fighting galactic cosmic rays still. They're still building. More and more radiation is still pouring in, which is altering everything. But the heat factor is certainly taking a toll on life on the surface of this planet. Crops are dead all over the place, and the crops that are left are being damaged by just outrageous weather phenomena.
Now, we know that a lot of these crops have been destroyed with flood, but then there was I want to say it's called a derecho, some kind of like a hurricane over land. Sister actually sent me that video a while ago, a couple weeks ago, and I think it destroyed like 10 million square miles of crops in like Iowa, up in the northern part of the country. And these things are happening, and they're destroying the food source. Okay, so then eventually there's going to be definitely not enough food for everyone, which is then going to turn society against each other. So I said everything is being set up. I hadn't even heard of these this derecho or something. I haven't even heard of these kinds of storms, like a hurricane over land that destroys all these crops. But I think Mr. MBB3 did a little video on it a couple weeks ago talking about it. He said it's just everything, everywhere they look, it's bad. Everywhere they look, the Most High is bringing judgment. Let's continue.
This in conjunction with unexpected passages of rocks, debris, large objects, small objects. There were 2 sizable objects last week that were quite sizable. And what I mean sizable, there's some objects sometimes that pass this earth that we're talking about continental-sized objects that are moving extremely fast right outside of the moon's orbit, that they're picked up on the European Space Agency's equipment. They're picked up on the USA equipment, but they have filtering. When you see things on the website, right, when they're giving you data from the web, from sensors, from anything, that data does not go straight to the web. That data goes through several different types of computer systems that will filter data. And that data that's being filtered, you'll never know it's being filtered unless it lasts for at least 2 seconds or more. But they're always filtering data. They even have insertion programs where they can insert data to make it look like you're not missing any. And so sometimes people are fooled by information on the web. Is this the Nibiru thing? No, this is not.
Again, so that's again about men trying to hide information in order to make it seem as if they are still in control. That's happening in the skies, but it's also happening in society. They're filtering information like the truth. They're filtering information about who the Most High's chosen people are. They're filtering the information about the 400 years. They're filtering information about where our land is. Where is the Most High's chosen lands? They're filtering all that information in order to seem as if they have control. It was funny because last night they were having the Republican National Convention. I think it was Trump's daughter was talking about how they moved the embassy to Israel, and they've been helping Israel. And they said it's just like they haven't proven any of this, but they still spew all these lies as if they are really helping the true people of the Most High. So again, they're trying to seem as if they're in control. They're still trying to give that that whole glimmer of hope that they are the bastions of democracy, and that if you're not a Republican, you're not a true American. And how they still, if you vote them back in, things are going to get much better by the end of the year, as if they still have control, which we know that they don't. Let's keep going.
Anything related to Nibiru, this is something that's intermediate, something in between. So this is something unexpected. And if it's real, it's going to, these objects, I'm just not going to say one, but these objects are going to be under the influence of the sun.
There's a date right there, 8/21/20, the finishing up of our 400 years. Then all of a sudden, this pops up, which definitely portends many bad things to happen in the near future. The sweeping off of the Gentiles from our lands.
And it's a possibility that one or two of the objects may lose their control. In other words, they may act sporadically in the heavens and cause us some more atmospheric issues.
Folks, Mike from Around the World's with us. Again, this picture, Brock, I put it back up again. This one here is from Bradley Lake in Alaska. It was caught on a FAA advisory weather cam. The camera was facing south. It's camera number 10396. It captured this what looks like a planet. Maybe I don't know what that is. It's a strange sight. It's a fearful sight if you've seen it, and it was out in the middle of nowhere, of course, and it's over Bradley Lake, and it was captured. It's a red-looking planet, but and we're not saying it's Planet X. We're not saying it's Nibiru. But then the same afternoon, August 21st, 2020, a few miles away over the Yukon River Bridge, there's another FAA advisory weather cam. This one is facing southeast, and it's camera number 10323. And this was sent to us by a employee of the FAA who did not want to give their name, and that's fine, but wanted us to see it, wanted Mike from Around the World to see it. We had gotten it to Mike this week. I've been sitting on this for several days, and Heidi has been sitting on this until tonight. We wanted to break it out tonight. Now, we tried to put that picture on our thumbnail, Mike, and we had to try 7 times to go live on the main channel. It would not let us go live till we removed the picture and put up another photo of some asteroids flying by, and they let us go live. So there's something about this photo that's pretty. You're saying there's 7 photos taken that would confirm that are very similar to this one that were taken from the South Pole, and you've seen those, Mike. I take it you've seen those. Are they similar?
Yeah, that's not I'm just surprised that I'm sure that somebody on the internet has they have those images. They didn't stay up on the internet long if they were on the internet and all, but some of the main data, yeah, I've seen that, but it's offset, which also, looking at the pattern from the photo you sent me, comparing that to the patterns of the several frames, it looks like it rotated. It looks like the exact same object. I would suspect that as we continue to go into the winter months, more and more people will begin to see this thing because of its motion, so to speak. But there's something else. There's another something we're dealing with. It's not hiding behind the sun. It makes a passage. I don't know what that thing is, but it makes a passage that causes it to be somewhat elusive. But during midday, people have been beginning to notice this, especially pilots have beginning to notice this at higher altitude. So if this thing is real, and I have to say, if this thing is real, right? Because if it's real, don't worry, we're coming back to this subject and we'll just pour out the details. But if it's real, one of the issues, one of the cautions with this is any celestial object that's close to this Earth, right, will imbalance us. And if you're looking at an object like that, I would estimate that object is probably about this, maybe equal to the size of our moon, if not less. That's what I would say. I don't think it's that far out there because of those in that picture. You have hazy atmospheric conditions, right? And if something was way out there, right, unless it was on fire, right, you probably would not be able to notice it given the light that's coming off the surface, which lets me know that this object is quite close. Could it be something out there that close that people couldn't see? Of course it could. It depends on the pattern it follows in relation to the Earth's orbit. It could be right there in front of our faces, and we would not notice. Nobody would notice this unless they during the midday took a look at the sky and would see a bit of distortion, And
it wouldn't be there long either, would it, Mike? Just for a few seconds.
No, it wouldn't. Because if it were something with a slow type of orbit like the moon, everybody would have noticed it. Right. But if it has a type of rotation, and what I mean, a type of rotation where it comes in proximity to the Earth, and that's part of the arc, and then it swings back out for another 2 weeks, and then it comes back in. We're just seeing a portion of the arc. That has absolutely happened with a few smaller objects, right? That have been observed. So they have wacky, strange orbits, especially when they have larger objects. That they're anchored with. They can absolutely do that, which means it would appear in our atmosphere for about maybe 8-9 hours, and then it's gone for another 2, 3, 4 weeks. Then it comes back and does the same thing. Then it's gone 2, 3, 4 weeks.
So is it on some kind of oblong orbit?
There you go. But a very small one. Very small one.
Okay.
And it would have to be, if it were the size of our moon, it would also be caught in a type of I'll say gravitational force, where it would follow lines of force that are parallel to probably our southern hemisphere, a little lower than the southern hemisphere.
Okay, so now this is an important part where we start talking about the southern hemisphere, which then, like I said, we take the application of what the Most High showed us, has been showing us for these last, few months or over a year, and now we're going to apply it to the stuff he's going to start bringing about the southern hemisphere. I know I'm playing a lot of the video, but it's actually pretty interesting information. Though this little clip right here has a lot of good information, but this part is actually very important. So watch what he talks about the southern hemisphere.
Going back to the sun, which makes it almost impossible to see unless you're in the southern hemisphere, right? By the way, which is burning up. But that's where you would have to be. You'd have to be, South Australia. You'd have to be somewhere in South America at a very low parallel. But they don't allow astronomers in certain portions of South America anymore.
That's crazy. I didn't realize that. I don't know if you guys knew that too, but they're not allowing astronomers in certain parts of South America. Again, remember now, it goes back to the Most High's true chosen lands, because those are the ones where you can actually really get the best view of what's happening in the skies. the Most High had raised up his lands to be closer to him in order for them to get a much better understanding of what's happening in the skies. I did a video about that a while ago. So now they're not allowing astronomers to certain parts of South America because of what they'll be able to see. So that there also, again, leads more credence to what the Most High has been showing us, and gives us more gives us more of a stronger foothold in what we're saying, that the Most High's chosen lands are here. They're closer to the Most High. They have definitely been allowed to see much more from these certain locations. That's why the people over in the three parts could not get a lot of understanding of what was happening in the heavenlies, because their lands were not closest to the Most High. Those were not the chosen lands. That's why the Vatican has there's telescopes set up over here, Lucifer, and then there's all these other places that were spending all this money, okay, down in South America in order for them to build these huge, powerful telescopes so they could get a much better view of what's happening, okay, in the heavenlies. So let's continue.
You can't bring your telescope down there. They will not permit it. And you're not going to the South Pole either to see anything. They won't permit it. So there are a lot of things they stop astronomers from doing now. And there are some forbidden zones. You just can't take pictures or anything.
Is that because...
No, that's it. You have a lot of forbidden zones. Antarctica. I know the drop, I think, was talking about Antarctica and doing some videos on Antarctica. And I think Australia as well. So now you got it where they're not, there's zones where they can't go, they can't take pictures, they can't do any astronomical work, they can't do any of that. We know for sure that all the nations have made it seem as if it's illegal to go to Antarctica and actually get anything done down there. So like I said, so it's just giving more proof. If the Most High's chosen land was over there in the so-called Middle East, then they would have access to all of these anomalies in the sky. That would be the best place to set up telescopes, would be in the so-called Middle East, in order to get this information. But it's not. They would not allow people. If those were the chosen lands and those were the Most High's lands that He wants closest to Him, they would have all these different all this different access, and they would not be allowing people to go over there to take pictures of the sky. They would not be allowing people over there to go and videotape, or actually set up places to go up there and watch what's happening up in the skies. Okay, they would be setting up telescopes. They'd be setting all that stuff up over there, but they're not. They're setting up all the telescopes and everything else over here in our lands and down in South America, and also down there in Antarctica.
Mike, what's coming up from the south is, if you're in the South Pole, it'd be very visible, and it'd give us some answers to some of these, whether it be Planet X, Nibiru, Planet Number 9, a binary system, or whatever we may see, or maybe other incoming objects. They just can't let the public know.
It's very active in that region of the Earth, as far as you can see. It's very active, and I believe that would just bring up more problems than anything else, because there's always something in the sky there, always. And then they would have to, explain these things. People would have photos, and they would have videos, and no one would deny it due to the sheer number of confirming photos, right? So in their minds, it's best not to let anybody down in those regions.
Now, would that make sense then, as us as a people, before the Spanish got here? Remember, we had the omens. We knew that they were already coming. Our priests already had access to the stars. It's, down here in our lands, down here in South America. So they already knew. So they were already aware of the, Spaniards coming. Now, see, these same signs are now showing up in our lands again. So they don't want people to know that that their time is up. They don't want people to know that there's all these signs in the sky. So they want to make it seem as if they are still in control. So listen to what he says right now.
Where people could have that type of, reaction to that, because their time would be tied up explaining what's in the atmosphere. People would be so taken by what they see in the southern hemisphere, Pastor Paul, they would stop protesting. They would stop indulging in just about everything, and they would say, "Hey, give us an answer. And what is this stuff?" Because just last year there was something that somewhat blanked out the sky in the southern hemisphere for a couple of hours, and then it was gone. But it was huge. It was like looking at something about the size of maybe 13, 14 football fields, and it just kind of, it looked like a shadow, and then it kind of left, and it, startled people.
Okay, so like he just said, then people would not be out here protesting. They would not be worrying about the things of this world. Why is that? Because then they would be able to see what's happening in the sky. Then they would know that there's something that's coming. There's something, earth-changing that is on its way. But see, as long as they hide all that information and make it seem as if man is still under control, then people will still be worried about the things of this world still. So, so that's a huge thing right there about, them not showing what's really going on, having all these dead zones, not allowing people to go down to certain areas and take pictures, take video, take their telescopes, none of that. So they're going to keep people worried about things that don't really matter. But that shows you what's going on right now. So like I said, that's why we need to take the information and apply it. One thing is for us to get the information. Okay, we know about the lands and this and that. Now these Gentiles are given they're being exposed to many things, and they're bringing out this information, but their interpretation of it is off. As long as you don't know who the people are, everything else after that is not going to make any sense. Because they'll be able to put 2 and 2 together. They'd be able to put this anomaly showing up on 8/21, which is pretty much the end of the end date for the 400 years. Then all of a sudden this starts to show up, and then it starts to talk about all these things that it's going to bring, all these changes it's going to bring, and the destruction that it's going to bring. They're all talking about destruction, but they don't know why. They don't talk about the real reason as to why the Most High is bringing destruction. We had access to all these lands, and our priests were able to look in the sky and be able to figure out what was going on. They knew the prophecies. They knew what was coming for our people. That's why when the Spanish got here, our people already knew that we had no choice but to bow our knees and bow our necks to these people. Now the Most High is bringing these signs once again. But see, these Gentiles now aren't going to have that opportunity. They're not going to have that opportunity unless the Most High opens their eyes and then leads them to the truth. These Gentiles are going to think that things are going to get better next year. They're going to believe that, Trump said that there's going to be a vaccine by the end of the year. See, they're going to believe all these lies. That's why when the Most High cracks the skies open, these people are not going to understand what hit them. Because there's signs that are happening in the sky. There's signs that are happening in these lands. But the vast majority of the world has no idea. They're still waiting for things to get back to normal, when we know that things are never going back to normal. All praise is to the Most High, Yahweh. Acknowledgement to the earthly mother, who is wisdom, who is Holy Spirit. Acknowledgement to Yahushai. Shalom.